Watch out there.
I wasn't getting that close to you.
You liking your new ride?
I do. It's really cool.
It's actually not that new, but it's been doing pretty good for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a nice new to me car.
Yep. Let's talk about this car. Let's get started. So this is Mrs. Wizard's 2004 Mercedes SL500. And she's had it for quite a while now. When we first got it, if you've been following along, we had to go through a lot to get this thing fixed. But some of the recent things that we repaired on this were actually kind of big items. They weren't hard to fix. We're going to talk about those today. But ever since we've got those things repaired, this thing's been a trooper. It's been great. She starts it up, she drives, she goes. It drives smooth, no issues. It's been a good car. So Eurasian Bob picked this thing up at an auction and offered to buy it. We got it for $5,500, and we probably put another $1,000 worth of parts and, as you can see, wheels. If I would have had to pay a shop to fix everything we fixed, this car would not have been worth it. But luckily I can get wholesale prices on parts, and I can also fix this thing myself. Let's take a look at the wheels. So these I got from a seller actually on eBay, and I believe they're S63 or S65 or something like that wheels, and they're really, really nice. Their insides are black, but it has the nice machined edges here. It almost looks like a turbine wheel, but they look really good on this car. The original wheels that were on here, we were fighting a vibration pretty bad, and we tried rebalancing them. I use a tire guy in Halstead. It's called Halstead Tire. He's very, very good. But he kept saying something's not right with one of these wheels, and it was starting to crack on the inside. It was actually coming apart. Now, many of these wheels from this era, the chrome cladding that they have actually starts peeling off, and the wheels corrode so bad that they can crack. Not only was the wheel cracked, but it was actually bent slightly. That's when I knew it's time to get rid of these wheels, because not only is it inconvenient to be shaking going down the road, being that it's cracked was actually very dangerous. I didn't really want to just replace the one wheel because all of them were starting to have the chrome peeling issue, and it really looks unsightly. The tires were brand new, so all we did was swap the tires off of the old wheels onto these new wheels, and they look really, really nice. I'm glad to have that behind me because I don't need the wheel breaking and falling off of Mrs. Wizard. We don't need that, do we, Mrs. Wizard?
No.
No, we don't need that. The next thing we'll talk about is in the trunk. Let's go open the trunk. So here we are in the trunk, and although we didn't have any issues with the trunk lid or the hard top or any of the convertible top hydraulics or anything, what we had an issue with is whenever you're going down the road or you're at a stoplight and you're slowly creeping forward, you could hear in the gas tank a clunk, 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 clunk. And it's actually very common on these era of cars to have baffles inside the tank that come loose and they just rock back and forth. What I did to solve the problem was I didn't replace the tank. What I did was remove some of these covers and also this carpet that's right here. And right behind that carpet is the gas tank. When you get those items out of the way, at the top of the gas tank is a small circular cap, just like in this picture. That is your fuel sending unit. If you take the fuel sending unit out, you now have a hole about this big around that you can access into the fuel tank. You can see the fuel and everything that's in there. You can also see the baffles. And I would rock the car back and forth by pushing it, and I could see the baffles rocking back and forth, making the noise. They have several long arms that come off the baffles that are supposed to be tack welded or whatever at the factory, and the little welds break and the whole thing rocks back and forth. So what I did was get some long needle nose pliers like these. You can get them on my Amazon affiliates page. And I went through the access hole, or the fuel sending unit hole, and I could get a hold of those baffles, and I twisted them and bent them to an area where they are now almost spring-loaded, if you will, pushing against the sides of the tank. And now it can't move. The baffles are still intact. They still do the job of keeping the fuel from sloshing all over the place. But now it doesn't rock back and forth. All I had to do was bend a couple of, it's almost like arms that come off of it. They're sheet metal. Bend them to where they're contacting the tank, and that's it. They can't move anymore. We put it back together, and have you been hearing that noise anymore, Mrs. Wizard?
Nope, does great.
Good. So that's what I did to take care of that noise. They have replaced a lot of tanks in the dealerships. I don't remember if they were under warranty or not, but Magic Mike, who works here, was a Mercedes tech, and he said a lot of tanks got replaced on these for that very reason. I was able to solve it with this. It saved us some money, and it works great. So we got that taken care of. So here we have the 5-liter V8, being this is an SL500, and we haven't had any major issues with the engine. Amazingly, the SBC brakes, which are kind of electronic brakes, haven't had any issues or anything coming up. They've been working great. We kept having a belt noise, and what would end up being was this pulley right here. So we've since replaced it and put a new belt on, and that took care of that noise. This does have the ABC suspension system. You can see the ABC pump there. There's the reservoir. And luckily, we've had 0 issues with the ABC system. Those can be problematic. They can leak. They can cause all kinds of issues. And we've had 0 issues with this one. Another thing we replaced was the starting battery, which is right here. It's actually the smaller of 2 batteries. This is what's used to start the engine. There's a second battery in the trunk that's actually larger that runs all the accessories. But we were having some issues with this battery, and we got it taken care of by replacing it. Brand new battery. These things are very sensitive to the batteries. If anything's out of whack, you'll have a battery light come on, and it can be a lot of trouble where people keep replacing this battery or they keep messing with that battery and they forget the fact that there are 2 batteries. So make sure you remember that if you have one of these, or really any newer modern Mercedes that have an auxiliary battery and a starting battery. So make sure you keep that in mind. The next issue we had was very simple, was just this little light right here. It would not work. We put a new bulb in it. We checked power, we checked grounds, and it had power, it had ground, and it just refused to work. Finally, it ended up being the little contacts inside the bulb holder, and we was able to clean those out and get them working again. One thing to keep in mind on any of the bulbs on these Mercedes models of these years especially is the computer monitors each bulb. There's a monitor that checks the resistance and checks the wiring of each bulb. So it's easy to say, well, if one bulb's out, I could run a new power or run a new ground and it'll take care of it. It may start working again, but it will still say on the dash that bulb is out, even though it may not be. So if you have issues with these side marker bulbs or turn signal bulbs on these Mercedes 04, 5, 6, really even any of the newer ones, you can't just bypass it. You have to fix what's going on with the particular wiring that's in place. It was quite annoying to start the car and it had a bulb out issue, and finally got it solved. So I bring that up because I was actually looking into seeing what's going on, and Junior Mint was like, well, why don't we run a new power wire and a new ground wire and be done? I said, no, Junior Mint, this isn't a 65 Chevy truck. The computer will be very unhappy if we do that. And he goes, computer? Why was the computer involved in the bulbs? It is on these cars, so make sure you keep that in mind.
Interior wise, this thing was really in pretty good shape. It was really dirty. I mean, there was crust, because I understand, I guess whoever had it before, let things fall and didn't clean it. So there's crust in here. There was all sorts of mess. It took quite a while to get it actually in good shape. The steering wheel still has some sun damage, but you don't normally touch that part, so it's not been enough of an issue to get it replaced yet. The wood's still in really good shape. There's a few cracks still in the veneer, but otherwise it's in really good shape. One thing that doesn't work is the latch right here doesn't work. So it's hard to access the lower compartment of this. So it does limit some of the storage space in here. But amazingly, this little car I think has more storage space than the big yacht. It's amazing. Now, another spot that's kind of weird is over here, the side. I think it probably got pushed on a lot by the guy who maybe, or the person who had this before, but it does open and closes, so it's not been too bad. Another problem was this back piece. This is the piece that moves up and down when the top goes up and down. It had come loose from under this curl part here, and wind would get in there and it would kind of flap and blow in the wind. Luckily, Wizard took it to the upholstery guy here in town and got it all glued back down, and now it looks just fabulous. So that was gotten done. The thing I really like about this car is it does have the roll bar. Now, being that this is a convertible, it's nice to know that, a little bit more stability, because obviously there's no side posts, there's nothing here, and the windshield obviously is not going to keep me safe. So I'm definitely glad this is here. The last thing that was a bit of a problem was the seat. And it must have been maybe, a little Taco Tuesday moment or something for the people before us, but you can kind of see there's a crack right here. And we've used this, it's not perfect by any means, but for $30, you can buy this stuff. It's amazing. You just stick it down. It's called Mastoplasta. What a great name. It's on the Amazon affiliate page. We've used this a lot. We used this when we owned the dealership as well. If there's something came in with a hole in the seat, not worth spending $500 on a new seat, especially with all the electronics that this one has. But for about $30, put the sticker down, match the color as close as we could, and it's doing a great job. Anyways, this thing has been doing really, really good. It's tons of fun to drive. It goes super fast. When we pulled out on the road today, there's a bit of snow here yesterday. Not top-down weather, mind you. January in Kansas is not top-down weather. But a little snow in the tires. We got on the paved road from our dirt road and peeled out a little bit. The Wizard was like, whoa, peeling out there. So, happens.
As you guys just saw, the convertible top works perfectly. You can go up and down 15 times. It never even has a hitch. It works great. The R129 models that preceded this had a lot of trouble with leaking hydraulics. They would actually spray you on your face or in your lap from the above the rooftop there, or various other places they could leak. These ones don't have that trouble so much, but there is a trouble area in its electrical wiring. Let me open the trunk and show you. So as you can see, the hinges for the trunk lid are quite complex. There's a lot of little angles and weird things going on. But right here is a wiring harness that goes all the way down. And every time this convertible top is operated, this wiring gets bent back and forth, back and forth. And we all know what happens to a copper wire when you sit there and bend it back and forth over and over. It finally will break. And that's exactly what happens on these. I've actually fixed several of these for customers already that amazingly they've been to the dealership and they say, we can't find the problem. I'm sorry, we can't find it. And it ended up being broken wiring. How could they not find the problem when that's a common issue? I don't know, but they just don't care, I guess. But what it'll say on your dash is that the trunk lid is open, even though it's closed. And it ends up being broken wiring in here. You'll have to cut this sheath open, undo all of these little zip ties and everything, and you'll eventually find it and repair the wiring, put it back together, and you're back in business. So that's one thing to check. If your convertible top isn't working, if it's saying the trunk lid is open and it's not, make sure you check this wiring. It's on the passenger side only. Make sure you check that out. It can be these sensors that are like right here that show if the trunk lid is open or closed. There's one right here. But very likely it's the wiring. Another slight annoyance that we had was the gas cap. When it would close, you'd push it again and it will not unlock. And it wasn't any of the locking feature that it has. It just was broken. Mrs. Wizard had to get a small key or a screwdriver or something and actually pry it open to get gas, and that got old after a while. And what had happened is the previous owner had broken the little tab off inside of here and they glued it back on. The gluing part works, but let me show you what went wrong inside of here. So as you can see, this part's been glued on with some black epoxy. And it works just fine. And you can see somebody in the past has broken this off and put on a new door lid. But right in here is the little catch mechanism, and it was broken. It would close, but it wouldn't let it come back open. And you really can't just buy just that, because it's actually got like a little air-powered or vacuum-powered solenoid on it. That's a security feature to keep it from opening. It'll actually go through this hole and lock your fuel door, and it had gone bad. I was able to find on eBay this entire assembly that had been cracked and broken, and they were like, well, there may be some useful parts here, and there was. I took those parts off of the broken assembly and put them onto this, and now it works fine. That made Mrs. Wizard very much happier.
Yes, it did.
So she doesn't have to use a key or a screwdriver to open her fuel door anymore. So if you're not mechanically inclined, or have a buddy that hooks you up with some labor or some diagnostic ability, these actually are not a car to buy as a project. So, oh, I'll buy one that the suspension's flat and it's got ABC warning lights on the dash, and I'll get it fixed up and I'll get it fixed for cheap. You probably won't. These cars can have problems with the SBC brakes that has to have the entire module replaced. You can have ABC issues with your suspension that can get very expensive very fast. And there's many other different modules and things that can go wrong on this car, and the price can add up really fast. If you buy one of these for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, you could easily put that much again or more into fixing it. So you put $3 or $4 into a car that's $3 or $4 and fix everything, but yet the car is still only worth $5 or $6. These cars aren't worth a whole lot because convertible top issues, ABC issues, SBC issues, and it can tally up thousands, not hundreds, but thousands really fast. You see these cars at auction, especially if you're a car dealer, all the time. $2 grand, $3 grand, ABC problems, this and that problems. So although we was able to get this car from Mrs. Wizard and get it fixed up because we have the abilities in the shop to fix this car, I would not recommend one of these for someone who's budget-minded or gets very angry every time something breaks and it's expensive. This is not the car for you.
Wow, Car Wizard, that kind of sounds like that Range Rover that they were trying to sell around our house a while back.
Yeah, there was a white one not too far in town there. It was laying on its bump stops, completely flat.
Yeah, and they kept trying to sell it. Had nice pictures of it, but yeah, it was a lowrider.
Those are another one of the cars, one of the L322 Range Rovers. Don't buy one of those thinking you're going to fix it for cheap. You're not going to.
No.
You're just not.
And that's one of the reasons we bought the Land Rover I have, is it doesn't have air suspension.
Right, it just has standard coil spring suspension. And as you've seen in previous videos, it's basically got Ford engine parts and Ford parts underneath. So we were able to fix several things on it already from CarQuest with Ford Escape parts. So that really has been a boon for us.
Yeah.
So I was hoping you guys could watch this video and you could see some of the final issues that it took to get this thing reliable and running good, and she can enjoy the car. Come springtime, this is going to be a really, really fun car to have. Just wanted you guys to know that what we've been through on this car to get it where it's at could possibly bankrupt somebody else. And I don't wish that on you. I don't want that on for you guys. That's not fun. These cars cannot be fun if there are a lot of things broken. So let's get the top up and let's get out of here.
Yeah. It's a great day in January, but yeah, not top-down weather for sure. Let's get out of here.
Let's do it.
Bye, guys.